What I'm about to tell you may be shocking. The Epstein case is far bigger than a crime scandal, and the situation is far different, and much worse, than most people imagine. This is not some simple conspiracy theory. The claims here go beyond any single public figure or religious group. They involve allegations about international power structures and intelligence operations. I'll be referring to a certain country throughout this video. Don't get hung up on that. Otherwise, the video can't stay up on YouTube. The Epstein scandal first began to surface in 2006, when the family of one victim filed an official complaint. By 2008, things became more serious, but because of Epstein's elite-level connections and the lobbying power of that certain country, the case was blocked. It was even said that American intelligence agencies told investigators this inquiry could not continue. In the end, everything was covered up, and from that point on, almost everyone, including the media, was silenced in one way or another, until 2018. That was when American investigative journalist Julie K. Brown gathered all the documents, who protected Epstein, how prosecutors were pressured into silence, and much more. Then public pressure exploded. With Epstein's arrest and later death, the story slowly faded from the headlines once again and was nearly forgotten. As always, the elites who never wanted the truth exposed let the topic die down. Then came 2026, when the files suddenly returned to the spotlight in a way never seen before. This time, names, locations, dates, and details were being released, and political protection had seemingly disappeared. Because many of the allegations, once dismissed as rumors, were now appearing to be true. So what happened in 2026 wasn't the emergence of a new scandal. It was the first time in 20 years that files long protected by powerful elites were suddenly left unprotected. But have you ever wondered this? Why now? Why were these files suddenly released with such apparent transparency? Why would the major powers allow this now? Let me explain directly. This is called a controlled release. Think of it like lowering pressure inside a sealed system before it explodes. Thousands of pages are published. The public is told, everything is out now, and people feel relief. They think, finally. We've seen everything, but they haven't. The full chain was never revealed. The central names and the most critical documents were withheld, and likely always will be, because the goal was never to expose the truth. The goal was to survive the truth, and this is where the system begins making sacrifices. It offers up figures who appear significant in order to prevent even larger exposures. Take Prince Andrew. For example, he had already been isolated from the royal structure, or Bill Clinton, whose political power had significantly weakened, but active and truly powerful figures. They were not pushed forward, and they never will be, because sacrificing them would not benefit the system right now. The system will keep those names as leverage. What we're seeing today is not a full exposure. It's a carefully managed release designed to prevent a much larger one. And now we get to an even stranger theory, massive one. Some believe these file releases were actually a warning. It's often claimed that the true power influencing America lies with a certain Middle Eastern state. There are powerful families everyone knows about, and they didn't achieve their influence by accident. They achieved it through extremely calculated operations. And according to some theories, Epstein was one of the keys. The claim is that Epstein was an intelligence asset. His mission was to build trust with major writers, artists, politicians, scientists, and other influential people centered around the United States. The purpose? To funnel valuable information back to that country for its strategic benefit, because it is a small state in a hostile region. To survive, it needs protection and support. To expand, it needs much more than that. And according to this theory, Epstein was sent as a kind of spy to obtain exactly that. So how did he get so close to these powerful people? Simple parties. He brought them together. He learned their deepest desires. And then he gave them what they wanted. I won't go into the disturbing details. Over the years, he invited them to his private island. He collected secrets, and for some, he secretly recorded their most vulnerable moments. The kind of moments that could destroy them if exposed. Emails, messages, recordings, private, secrets, a massive archive, and whoever controls that archive, whether that country or anyone, aligned with its interests, would possess extraordinary leverage. So why was Epstein protected for so many years despite his horrifying crimes? Because they had no choice. According to some researchers and journalists, Epstein's successors may still hold compromising material on hundreds of artists, politicians, and influential figures, material powerful enough to control them. And when you think about it, that is terrifying. A plan so dark it almost sounds fictional. And while these are still allegations, many believe one day the evidence will prove them true. People forced into obedience through blackmail. Some even claim much of the music industry was controlled this way, and that those who resisted were discarded without hesitation. I've already made a separate video covering what allegedly happened in the music world. But back to Epstein. Millions of pages have now been released. No one can realistically read all of them, but we'll examine some of the most important parts. And there's another side to this story. One was the President of the United States. Another was a billionaire trying to connect humanity to space. Another was one of the most important names in technology, physicists, scientists, people society admires, the very people who lecture the world about human rights and peace. Who is going to judge them? No one. It will probably be buried once again. And here's the question. Will people condemn what happened in the West with the same outrage they show when criticizing the East? We'll see. Isn't it tragic how many things mocked as conspiracy theories later turn out to be real? Some people see the world as a colorful amusement park, and when you question that illusion, they laugh at you. They say, you think you've uncovered some giant secret? They claim you're the ignorant one. Yet they know everything because they scrolled Twitter for 5 minutes. They see some suspicious listing online and call it proof. Look, this makes total sense. They say, too many coincidences. No, coincidences happen. But people who refuse to question anything are exactly why we've ended up here. Question everything, because this world is not a candy-coated carnival. In the rest of this video, I'll show you how everything started and how it all ended. Jeffrey Edward Epstein. Most of us first heard this name through the news or social media. Some watching this right now may still not know who he was or what he actually did. Epstein was born into a Jewish family, believe it or not. He was once a teacher. Later he entered finance, and he became exceptionally skilled. But what he truly mastered was manipulating people. Interestingly, in 1987, multimillionaire Stephen Hoffenberg hired him precisely because he knew Epstein had that deceptive nature. Together, they built a Ponzi scheme and made enormous sums by deceiving investors. Hoffenberg later admitted this openly in interviews, saying, Epstein understood Wall Street and was incredibly useful to our criminal operation. He admitted they manipulated markets and defrauded people. Not long after these confessions, Hoffenberg was found dead in his home in 2022. Some believe illness drove him to confess. Others believe something else happened. Either way, Epstein had already built a fortune by the 1990s. Then he met Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's when everything truly began. The two met in 1991 through a mutual friend. Soon after, they began socializing with major figures, including Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, along with many other celebrities and influential people. Not long after, they moved into a $5 million mansion in New York. By 1994, Ghislaine had begun helping Epstein with something far darker. She was allegedly recruiting underage girls and gradually preparing them for Epstein's twisted world. At first, everything was framed as consensual, but the reality was never innocent. Manipulation and coercion were always there beneath the surface. One of the earliest victims was Annie Farmer. She was told, look, this man is incredibly wealthy and extremely well connected. He could help you get into better schools and open doors for your future. Eventually, she was invited to an isolated ranch in New Mexico. There, Ghislaine befriended her. She taught her how to massage Epstein. Sometimes they would perform the massage together. Then Ghislaine would quietly leave the room. It was like a conditioning process. Young girls were slowly pushed further and further into Epstein's predatory world. He would test boundaries, see what they would tolerate, and he became deeply uncomfortable. When she resisted, Epstein allegedly tried to persuade her to stay silent. He offered money, he offered favors, anything she wanted, but she still went to the police, and the complaint was ignored. Why? Because the man she accused was famous, powerful, and without undeniable evidence. No one wanted to challenge him. That failure only emboldened Epstein. His confidence grew. For a while, he stayed quiet. Then he resumed hunting. One mother later discovered her daughter had suddenly come home with hundreds of dollars in cash after a school incident. After repeatedly asking what happened, she learned her daughter had gone to Epstein's Palm Beach mansion and had been paid for giving massages to a man old enough to be her grandfather. She was horrified, and according to her, this wasn't an isolated incident.